All right. So, good morning or good afternoon. This is Mr. Goyaso, and today we are going to be going over graphing slope-intercept equations. Okay. So, if you all can read the directions, given the equation, which we're going to be given, we're going to find the slope, y-intercept, x-intercept, and we're going to graph. Right? We're not going to pick the matching graph. We're actually going to graph. Okay. So, number one, I have the equation f of x equals 2x minus 6. So the first thing I need to do is identify the slope. So if y'all remember, the slope is what's attached to the x. So in this case, my slope is 2. Right, 2 right there. My y-intercept is the number by itself, right? It's not attached to an x or any other kind of variable. So in this case, my y-intercept is negative 6, okay? Or we can write the ordered pair, but it's actually better. We're going to write the ordered pair 0, comma, negative 6, okay? Now it's asking for the x-intercept, okay? But we can't really tell what that is based on this equation because we can only tell the slope and the y-intercept. So what we need to do is we need to graph this equation first, and then we can find the x-intercept, okay? So when we start graphing equations, the first thing we should graph is the y-intercept. So I'm going to plot 0, comma, negative 6. So here's 0, right? This is my x-axis. Here's my y. So 0, negative 6 is right down here, okay? Now, to plot my other points, I'm going to use my slope, okay? So we know to find slope, it's rise over run, right? So if my slope is 2, that means I'm rising to go to the next point. I'm going to rise 2 and run 1. Because remember, with 2 over 1, we always write 2, right? We can go backwards. So we can rise 2, go to the right 1 to get to my next point. So let's do that. So from this point, I'm going to rise 2, run 1. There's a point. Rise 2, run 1, rise 2, run 1, and so on, right? I can keep going all the way. Usually a few points will do, but since this is the first time, I'm going to draw them all, okay? Now, normally what we do is we'll connect the dots because this is like an equation, so it's kind of everything in between, so we'll connect them here. If you have a ruler, it's better, but no, that's a pretty straight line. Okay, so now looking at this graph, I can answer the question, what is the x-intercept? So looking at this graph, my graph crosses the x-axis right here when my x value is 3. So that ordered pair is 3, comma, 0. Okay, that's where my graph, my pink line, intersects the x-axis. Okay, so number 1's done. Let's slide down to number 2. So number 2, I have f of x equals negative 1/3 x plus 1. So start with the slope. Right, the slope is what's attached to the x. In this case, negative 1 over 3. My y-intercept is the number by itself, so I have a positive 1, so I can just write 1, okay? Oh, actually, we're going to write the ordered pair, 0, comma, 1, okay? And again, we can't tell the x-intercept, so we need to graph. So let's start with our y-intercept. So we're going to plot 0, 1, which is right here, okay? And now, again, we're going to use the rise over run to go from my next point, or from one point to the next. So remember, my rise is negative 1, my run is 3, okay? So this tells me I'm going to go down 1 to the right 3, okay? So we go down 1, 1, 2, 3, down 1, 1, 2, 3, okay? So we can do that. We can connect the dots there, because like I said, we only need a few points. And we can connect our little dots. Okay. So just by doing this little small portion of the graph, let me see if I can scoot up a little bit. I can see that the x-intercept, right, where my graph, my little red line, crosses the x-axis. This is the x, here's the y. At the point, again, 3, comma, 0. Okay, same thing. Okay, that's number 2. Let's slide up, if I can slide this up to number 3. There we go. Okay, so number 3, this one's a little different. So I have f of x equals 5. So let's start with the slope. So remember, the slope is what's attached to the x. But looking here at number 3, f of x equals 5, there is nothing attached to the x, right? On this right side, there is no x value. So if you remember from when we were talking about slope, when there's no x, there's nothing attached to it, the slope is 0, okay? Not none, it is 0, okay? Now, my y-intercept, remember, that's the number by itself. And that's all I have here, right? All I have is 5, okay? So now, if I plot 0, 5, we can still graph this line. So I plot 0, 5, right? There it is, okay? And now, I have a 0 slope. So hopefully y'all remember, 0 slope means I have a horizontal line, okay? So that means from this point, I'm going to have a horizontal line. So all I need to do to graph this is draw a horizontal line. And there it is. That's the graph of f of x equals 5, right? It's a horizontal line at 5, okay? But now I have this part right here, the x-intercept. So I need to kind of ask myself, does this pink line ever cross the x-axis, okay? And the answer is no, it doesn't, right? The x-axis is right here. The f of x equals 5 is right up here. They run parallel, okay? And we'll get to what that means later. But that means that we do not have an x-intercept. So we're going to say none, right? There's no x-intercept with f of x equals 5, okay? So that's number 3. Let's slide to the next one. Let me switch my pages. Number 4, we have, let me try to get it more inside. There we go. X equals -2, okay? So automatically, y'all should notice there's something different here. And the thing that's different is that my equation starts with an x, okay? So this is kind of a little trick. So if you have x equals any number, so I'm just gonna write any number, okay? That means that your slope is undefined, okay? So that means the slope of x equals -2, undefined, okay? Hopefully I remember what that looks like, because we'll get to that later. So, since I have x equals -2, okay? This is another thing that comes with the x equals. When you have x equals, that also means that there is no y-intercept, okay? So for y-intercept, I'm gonna write none. So you can already see that the x equals anything are really funky problems, okay? So there is none, but we can still graph it, okay? And we can tell the x-intercept. So the x-intercept is actually this number, and this is only the case when I have x equals some number, okay? That's the only time I can get the x-intercept from the equation. Other than that, I can't, okay? Because if you remember, when I have f of x equals, I can't get the x-intercept. I had to graph it, okay? But if you have an equation that starts with x equals, you can. That's the only kind of special case. So if I plot -2, 0, I know that an undefined graph looks like an up and down line. So what I can do is at -2, I draw a vertical line. Okay, and that's it. This is the graph, the line of x equals -2. And if you look, my x value is -2 at everywhere that this line touches. Okay, and that's it. Number 4. Number 5. Okay, so now what we're doing is I'm giving you the slope and y-intercept or x-intercept, and we need to graph it and kind of just find what's missing, okay? So we're going to go kind of out of order here because we have to. So for number 5, I'm told that the slope is 5 and the y-intercept is -5, okay? So what we can do, the first thing I would do is I would just write out the equation because that's kind of the easiest part. So I take my slope, right, because that's my m. I take my y-intercept, that's my b, and I write it in slope-intercept form, which y'all should be able to do now, which is y equals 5x minus 5, okay? So again, we still can't identify what the x-intercept is because we need to graph it, just like we did in those first couple examples. So I'm going to start by plotting my my y-intercept, which is -5, okay? And now, since my slope is 5, that means my rise over run is 5/1, okay? And now I go from there. So that means I'm going to go up 5 to the right 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the right 1. Up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the right 1. And that's a few points. That's good. So we connect the dots and we get that. Okay? So now I can tell that my x-intercept, right, where my pink line crosses the x-axis at 1. So my x-intercept is 1, 0. Okay? Easy. Let's slide down to 6. Again, I know this is a long video, but it's a lot of stuff, so we gotta cover it all. Okay, why can't that fit? There we go. 6 is good. Okay. So for 6, my slope is -1/2, and my y-intercept is 3. Okay. So let's write our equation first. So I put it all together, right? Y equals -1/2 x plus 3. Okay, that's the equation. Again, I cannot tell what the x-intercept is, so we have to graph. So my y-intercept is 3, so I'm going to go plot that point first. Okay, and then I'm going to use my slope, which is rise over run, to take me from one point to the next. So -1 tells me I'm going to go down 1 and to the right 2. Okay, so let's do that. Down 1 to the right 2. Down 1 to the right 2. Down 1 to the right 2. Okay, so again, that's a good amount of points. We can connect the dots. And there we go. So now I can see that my x-intercept right over here. And then it's not numbered, but I mean, what comes after 5? 6. So my x-intercept is 6, 0. Okay? And that's it. So, again, like I said, I know this is a long video, but we have 2 more to do, I promise, and then we're done. So let me take out that page and switch to the last one. And again, these are kind of like funky or special cases. I always like to show you all those. So 7, I'm told that the slope is 0 and the y-intercept, the y-intercept is -3. So what I need to do now is make my equation. So we always start with y equals, right? So I can write y equals, my slope is 0, so I'm gonna put 0x for now, okay? I know some of y'all probably thinking that looks funky, but it's okay. And now I put my y-intercept as -3, okay? But hopefully y'all noticed that the 0x looks weird. We never put 0x, and you're right. So what we're gonna do is I'm going to just get rid of it. We don't need that. So my equation with the slope of 0 and a y-intercept of -3 is just y equals -3. Okay, that's it. So from here, we can start graphing. So I go to -3, 0, -3. I plot that y-intercept. And now I know the slope is 0. So again, I know it has to be a horizontal line. So all I need to do is draw a horizontal line at -3. And that's my graph. That's it. And if y'all remember, the horizontal lines, they do not cross the x-axis, right? They run parallel, which means they never touch. So since they never touch, they never cross. So I do not have an x-intercept for this graph, okay? Last example. This is the weird one, again. So, again, they're telling me my slope is undefined and my x-intercept is 4. So pay attention to what they give me. My slope is undefined. So I know automatically my graph is going to look like that. It's going to be a vertical line, okay? And since they tell me the x-intercept is 4, I know exactly where that vertical line is. So I can go and plot this x-intercept of 4, okay? Now I know it's a vertical line, so I can just draw a vertical line here, right? I can do the graph before I even answer any of those questions. And that's okay, you can go out of order sometimes. Sometimes it makes it easier, okay? Now, remember what I told you. When the slope is undefined, we do not have a y-intercept. Because if you look at it now, they run parallel, right? This line runs parallel with the y-axis, so they never ever touch, okay? So there's no y-intercept. And the equation, hopefully y'all remember, it's on the previous notes. When we have an undefined slope, the equation starts with x. This is the only time that we do this. And the number, we get that from right here. So we get x equals 4, okay? Now, that's it. So those are all kind of the possibilities you're gonna see. I know that was a lot, and I'll have pictures of them also uploaded. And if you have any other questions, y'all can ask your teacher. But other than that, hope y'all have a great day.